You did not click on this by accident, and the reason has less to do with a video and more to do with a moment inside you that has been building for a long time. Something in your life is tightening, something is cracking, and you may not even have a clear name for it yet. Here is the strange question most people never dare to ask when everything starts falling apart. What if the breakdown is not a punishment, but a test of your soul? And the failure is not falling apart, but going back to the version of yourself that was never true? Carl Jung believed that life has a way of pushing us toward wholeness, even when the ego calls it disaster. There are seasons where you do not feel sad in the normal way. You feel done with pretending, done with being easy to understand when you are not understood. Done with giving your energy to people who only recognize you when you are useful. This is why I call it the final test, not because you are being judged by the universe like a courtroom, but because you are being asked to choose something most people avoid for their entire lives: truth over approval, self over performance, boundaries over guilt, quiet over noise. If this is landing in your chest right now, you might be in that threshold, the part where the old life still exists on the outside, but inside, you cannot live there anymore. You wake up and you feel a pressure you cannot explain. The conversations feel thinner. The distractions feel weaker. Even the goals you once chased can start to feel like borrowed dreams. And it is unsettling, because from the outside, nothing dramatic may have happened. But inside, everything is changing. So do something simple before you keep watching. Take 2 minutes and treat this moment like a receipt from synchronicity. Open your notes app or grab a piece of paper and write one sentence without overthinking it. If this isn't random, what in me needs to change? Then choose one word for this week. Truth, boundary, self, quiet. Not 4 words, 1 word, the one that makes you feel both nervous and relieved. That word will tell you where the test is happening. Because the final test is not about suffering louder. It is about becoming honest enough to stop betraying yourself quietly. It is the moment your soul starts rejecting the life your persona learned to survive in. And the first sign of the final test isn't your tears. It's what you can't tolerate anymore. It starts with a quiet disgust that you cannot explain to anyone without sounding ungrateful. You are sitting at a dinner table, people are laughing, the conversation is normal, and yet something inside you feels like it is suffocating. Someone asks, "So, what's new?" And your mouth wants to answer with the safe version, the polished version, the version that keeps the room comfortable. But your soul feels tired of rehearsing. Small talk starts to feel like eating air. You smile at the right moments, you nod, you play your part, and the whole time an inner voice whispers, "I can't do this anymore." This is the second sign of the final test. You cannot stand the mask. In Jung's language, the mask is the persona. It is the social self we build to belong, to be liked, to survive the expectations of family, work, and relationships. The persona is not evil. It once protected you. It helped you keep the peace. It helped you be the strong one, the reliable one, the easy one. But there comes a moment when the persona becomes too tight. Like clothing you outgrew, it starts rubbing your skin raw. And suddenly, the life that used to feel acceptable starts to feel hollow. You notice it in real places, not in poetic moments. At work, someone praises you for being so easy to work with, and instead of feeling proud, you feel a sting because you know what it cost you to be easy. You swallowed your needs. You held back your truth. You said yes when you meant no. In your family, you fall into the old role without thinking, the peacemaker, the translator, the one who smooths tension, before it becomes conflict. Everyone feels safer because you are performing, but you feel exhausted because you are disappearing. In dating or marriage, you catch yourself laughing at a comment that hurt, just so the mood doesn't shift. You watch yourself become agreeable in real time, and you feel almost sick, not at him, but at the betrayal you keep repeating inside your own body. Even your routines start to lose their meaning. The same scroll, the same errands, the same productivity. You can still function, but something is missing. You might be driving home and realize you cannot remember the last 5 minutes because your mind was somewhere deeper, somewhere quieter, asking questions you cannot ignore anymore. Why am I living like this? Who am I performing for? What am I afraid will happen if I stop? And that is the danger and the gift. Because when the mask starts to crack, it does not crack politely. It cracks your patience. It cracks your tolerance. You stop laughing at things that are not funny. You stop replying instantly. You stop pretending you are fine. People may call it moodiness. They may say you are changing. But what is really happening is that your inner life is calling you back. So do a fast check right now, like a mirror held close to your face. Where am I pretending? What do I gain by pretending? Approval, peace, belonging, safety, control? And if I stop pretending, who or what am I afraid to lose? A relationship, a role, a paycheck, a family identity, the image people have of you, the version of you that feels predictable to them. This is not about becoming rude or rebellious for attention. It is about becoming real. Because the moment you admit the mask is costing you your soul, you cannot unsee it, and you start to realize something unsettling. You have been paying for belonging with self-abandonment, and when you stop performing, the next collapse begins. You start taking back the power you gave away. At first, it feels like abandonment. Not the dramatic kind with slammed doors, but the slow realization that the people you hoped would finally understand you might never arrive. You wait for the apology that would heal the past. You wait for the partner to suddenly become emotionally mature. You wait for the family member to stop minimizing your pain. You wait for your boss to finally see how much you carry. You wait for a friend to notice you are drowning without you having to perform, "I'm fine." And then one day, in the middle of an ordinary week, something inside you whispers the sentence that changes your life. Nobody's coming. That sentence can hit like cold water, because hope, even when it hurts, can feel safer than responsibility. Hope lets you stay in the story where someone else fixes it. Someone else chooses you. Someone else makes it right. But the final test is the moment you step out of that story. You realize you have been placing people on the throne of your life, giving them the power to decide whether you feel worthy, safe, loved, or enough. Look at how this shows up in real life. You stay in a relationship that keeps you anxious because you keep believing, if I love him more, he will change. You keep over-explaining to a parent who has never listened because you keep believing, if I find the right words, they will finally see me. You keep saying yes at work, taking on extra projects, answering messages late at night because you keep believing, if I prove myself, they will value me. You keep being the mediator in your family because you keep believing, if I hold everyone together, maybe someone will finally take care of me. And what makes it so painful is that you are not foolish. You are loyal. You are loving. You are trying to earn safety the way you learned to earn it. Jung would call this projection. When we cannot claim our own authority, we project it onto someone else. We give them the role of rescuer, judge, provider, savior, the one who holds the keys to our peace. And then we live like a citizen inside their kingdom, waiting for permission to breathe. Nobody's coming is not a sentence of despair. It is the doorway to power. Because the moment you accept it, you stop begging. You stop auditioning. You stop negotiating with disrespect. You stop waiting for the world to hand you a life that feels true. You start building it, even if your hands shake at first. This is where the shift becomes practical, not just emotional. Write 3 lines, quickly, like you are withdrawing your energy from a false contract. I gave my power to Wagi. Maybe it is your partner, your mother, your father, your boss, your ex, the opinion of strangers online, the fear of being called selfish. I'm still waiting for Nakrakin Naing to save me. Maybe you are waiting for someone to choose you, apologize, commit, validate you, approve your boundaries, confirm that you are not too much. Today I take it back by doing this small action. A small action is a real action. Cancel one obligation you resent. Say no without a paragraph. Take a walk instead of sending the text. Make the appointment you have postponed. Stop explaining your boundary to someone who profits from breaking it. Put your phone down and let the silence tell you the truth. Because here is what happens when you take your power back. Your nervous system feels unfamiliar, like it has stepped onto new ground. The old part of you will panic because it was trained to survive through attachment and approval. The new part of you will feel calm, not because life is perfect, but because you are finally seated in your own center. And that is the moment the test deepens, because when your power returns, you meet the hardest part, not the world outside, but the darkness inside. Then the anger arrives, not as a flaw in your character, but as a sound your soul makes when it has been ignored for too long. You might have spent years calling yourself patient, understanding, the bigger person. You learn to smooth things over, to keep the peace, to swallow the sharp truth so nobody else has to feel uncomfortable. But when your power starts coming back, anger often walks in like an unexpected guest and sits right in the center of the room. At first, it can scare you. You wonder, am I becoming bitter? Am I losing my softness? Why am I so irritated all the time? But what if the anger is not here to destroy you? What if it is a hidden door, and behind it is the life you keep postponing? Look at how it shows up in ordinary moments. A family member makes a joke at your expense, and you feel heat rise in your chest, not because you are dramatic, but because your dignity has been traded for harmony too many times. A partner dismisses your feelings with, "You're overreacting," and something inside you wants to shout, not because you want to fight, but because you can feel yourself being erased in real time. A boss adds one more task with a casual smile, and your jaw tightens because your body knows you are being used as the reliable machine again. A friend takes, and when you finally need something, they vanish, and the anger comes like a wave that says, "Enough." In Jung's view, this is the shadow knocking. The shadow is not just cruelty or darkness. It is everything you were trained to hide in order to be accepted. Your no, your needs, your hunger for respect, your capacity to leave. Your anger often belongs to the part of you that has been locked away, so the persona can keep performing. And when you finally stop living on performance, the shadow does not politely request a meeting. It breaks through. That can feel like a moral collapse because you were taught that good people do not get angry, good women stay composed, good daughters forgive, good partners understand. But the reversal comes when you realize that your anger is not proof that you are failing the test. It is proof that you stopped abandoning yourself. Anger is a boundary alarm. It is the inner smoke detector that goes off when something in your life is violating a value you actually care about. It might be protecting fairness, respect, honesty, safety, reciprocity, rest. The problem is, many people were never taught to translate anger into truth. They were taught to suppress it, explain it away, or explode with it. And both options keep you trapped. So do this immediately, while the emotion is still alive in your body. Treat it like a translator, not a weapon. Write 2 lines, simple and direct. First, what value is my anger protecting? Maybe it is respect, maybe it is true, maybe it is peace, maybe it is your right to exist without being managed. Second, my boundary is, I do not accept kshayi, and I will shayi. I do not accept being spoken to with sarcasm, and I will end the conversation if it continues. I do not accept last-minute demands, and I will respond when I have capacity. I do not accept being guilted into roles, and I will choose what I can give without resentment. This is where the hidden door opens. The anger stops being a fire that burns you from the inside. It becomes a torch that shows you exactly where you have been compromising your soul. And when you act on that truth, even in one small boundary, you feel something shift. Not a rush of revenge, but a clean return of self-respect. You think meeting your shadow is the bottom. It's not. The next death happens in public, in how people react to the new you. The strangest part is not the anger, it is the way people react when you finally listen to it. The moment you stop performing your old role, the room shifts. It can feel subtle at first, like a temperature change. You speak a little less, you explain a little less. You do not rush to smooth the tension, you do not laugh to keep everyone comfortable. You simply stand there as yourself, and suddenly, the people who once felt safe around your mask start to feel threatened by your truth. This is what I mean by social death. Not the death of your body, but the death of the version of you that made other people's lives easier. You see it in family first. The relative who calls you so sensitive when you stop accepting rude jokes. The sibling who gets irritated when you refuse to mediate their conflicts anymore. The parent who says, "Why are you acting like this?" when you calmly say no. They are not always evil. Sometimes they are simply panicking because your old persona was part of the family's emotional system. You were the translator, the peacekeeper, the dependable one. When you stop doing that, the system loses its stabilizer, and instead of adjusting, it tries to pull you back. You see it with friends, too. The friend who only called when they needed to vent suddenly calls you distant when you do not have the energy. The group that relied on you to be the agreeable one starts making little comments. "You're different lately." The truth is, some people do not miss you. They miss what you provided. Your listening, your rescuing, your willingness to carry their feelings so they did not have to face their own. You see it at work in a very polite form. The coworker who used to dump tasks on you acts confused when you stop saying yes automatically. The manager who loved your reliability starts calling you not a team player the moment you protect your time. And you can feel the old reflex rise in you, the reflex to prove you are good, the reflex to perform your worth. That is the pressure point of the final test. Not the boundary itself, but the discomfort of being misunderstood after you finally told the truth. This is why people panic when you change. Your persona was predictable. Your persona made you manageable. Your persona kept the peace. But individuation makes you harder to control because you stop bargaining with your self-respect. And when people cannot control you, they often try to control the narrative about you. They call you selfish, cold, dramatic, ungrateful. They act like your boundary is an attack, because it forces them to feel something they have avoided for years. Here is the moment most people break. They feel the pushback, the criticism, the withdrawal of approval, and they rebuild the mask in order to get love back. They apologize for the boundary. They soften it until it means nothing. They over-explain until they are exhausted. They return to being easy, because being disliked feels like danger. But if you are in the final test, you are learning a new kind of courage, the courage to be calm while someone else is uncomfortable with your growth. So practice one simple line before you need it, like putting a key in your pocket. Say it out loud in a steady voice, not angry, not pleading. I'm not available for that anymore. I need time to think. I'll get back to you. That doesn't work for me. Notice what happens in your body when you say it. The tightness, the fear, the urge to add 10 more sentences. That urge is the old persona trying to survive. Let the sentence stand without decoration. Let the silence do its work. Because this is the truth. If your transformation requires everyone's approval, it is not a transformation, it is another performance. Most people break here because they rebuild the mask. But the real secret is the opposite. The secret is not that you become nicer, or stronger, or more spiritual than everyone else. The secret is that you stop splitting yourself in half to survive. For most of your life, you were taught to choose a side. Be kind, not angry. Be loyal, not selfish. Be forgiving, not too much. Be the good one, the calm one, the reasonable one. And every time you chose the side that kept the peace, you buried the other side deeper. Your sharpness, your no, your power to leave, your capacity to disappoint people. The final test is the moment life forces you to dig up what you buried, not so you can become cruel, but so you can become whole. This is what few women understand. You do not pass the test by becoming perfect. You pass by integration. Integration is when you no longer need to perform goodness to be loved. You can be warm without being weak. You can be compassionate without being available to disrespect. You can be generous without being drained. You can understand someone's pain and still refuse to carry it. That is why you become calmer. Because nothing affects you, but because you are no longer at war with your own contradictions. You see this in real life when your old self would have over-explained. Someone is upset with you because you set a boundary and you feel the familiar pull to fix it, to smooth it, to make them comfortable again. But this time, you breathe and let the discomfort stay on the table. You do not collapse into people-pleasing. You do not attack. You simply hold your ground with a quiet heart. That is integration. You see it when you can love someone and still walk away. This might be a partner who keeps repeating the same disrespect, a friend who only shows up when they need something, or a family member who demands access to you but refuses accountability. The old you would have stayed longer, hoping love would change them. The integrated you sees the truth and chooses dignity. You do not leave with hatred, you leave with clarity. You see it when you notice the shadow you used to deny, the part of you that could be cold, could be selfish, could be harsh. For a long time you were afraid of that part, so you stayed overly soft. You stayed overly agreeable. But the truth is, if you are capable of cruelty, you are also capable of strong boundaries, and when you acknowledge that power, you stop being easy to manipulate. People can sense when your kindness is a choice, not a weakness. This is why integrated women feel different. They are not trying to win. They are not trying to be liked. They are not addicted to being seen as the good one. They can hold two truths at once. They can be tender and unmovable. They can forgive and still remember. They can listen and still say no. They become harder to hook because there is no hidden hunger to be approved of. Make this practical tonight and keep it simple. Before you sleep, write 3 lines, not as affirmations, but as permission slips to be whole. I can be both soft and sharp. I can love and still leave. I choose kindness because I know I'm also capable of cruelty. Read them slowly and notice which line makes you uncomfortable. That discomfort is where you are still split. That is where the test is still active. And each time you practice holding your opposites without betraying yourself for peace, you step into the rebirth. When you live from integration, you will feel different from them, and that difference is proof you're entering a new chapter. Now you can recognize the proof, not in fireworks, but in your nervous system. The proof you passed the test is that you no longer crave your old life the way you used to. You might still miss people. You might still feel grief for what you hoped would happen. But you cannot unsee what you have seen. You cannot pretend again without feeling it in your body. The old mask feels heavy. The old role feels like a costume you wore to survive. And even on lonely days, something in you refuses to go back. That is what forging looks like. Fire does not ask permission before it reshapes metal. The final test did not arrive to destroy you. It arrived to burn off what was false, what was borrowed, what was built out of fear. You thought you were breaking because you were tired, emotional, confused, and even angry. But you were being initiated into something more honest. You were being forced to choose yourself without applause. Few women walk through this and come out steady. Most people rebuild the mask because it gets them love back quickly. But the love you were collecting was often conditional on you staying small, staying easy, staying useful. Passing the test means you stop trading your truth for comfort. You stop calling self-abandonment peace. You stop shrinking just to avoid being misunderstood. Even if people criticize you, even if some relationships fade, you feel a new kind of quiet strength. You are no longer led by guilt. You are led by what is real. Here is the simplest way to claim it, even if your voice shakes. Write 1 line and read it out loud, slowly, like a vow you are making to your own soul. My suffering was training. My clarity is earned. Do not rush past it. Let the words land where your body has been holding pain for years, because when you can say that and mean it, you stop treating your past as a sentence. You start treating it as proof of your becoming. You were not broken. You were forged, and you will not return to your old life just to keep people comfortable. If you feel this, comment 1 word: truth, boundary, self, or quiet. If this touched something sacred inside you, don't let it fade into silence. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your presence here is not just support, it's resonance. And if you feel moved to give back, your donation becomes a quiet but powerful gesture that helps keep this light alive for others still walking in the dark.